everybody. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to Wind Down Wednesday. I am so excited for tonight's episode, and I know that you guys are too. So please grab what you need to get comfortable and cozy, and we will see you back here in about 30 seconds. All right, everybody. I am so excited because joining us on tonight's episode is the incredible Dr. Andrea Honigsfeld. Andrea, how are you?
I'm doing great. And thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really looking forward to our conversation. And what an amazing setup you have. This is just a full-fledged studio that you have created here. I love it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's been fun to kind of play with this and see how we do all the things and learn all the buttons and all that. But I'm so excited. So for those of you watching, I know you know her name, you know her face. You probably have stacks of her books just like I do. And I was laughing because before we went live, I was showing her, and I know I have more of her books in my car right now because I have a workshop tomorrow, and I often cite her stuff. So these are just some of her many books. Oh my goodness. And you've written, how many are you up to right now? Do you even know? Have you lost count?
Not really. I'm up to 33. I'm counting the solo authored, co-authored, co-edited volumes. So everything all together is 33. And I'm so humbled, but very proud to tell you and your listeners that 13 of them are national bestsellers. So it's just an incredible journey, but it also speaks to the need to talk about collaboration, to define it a little bit better, maybe give lots of examples just to see it, to believe it, to try it. And as you said, you're running workshops on this topic, so you know that it's not easy. We don't simply assign teachers the job of collaboration. It's something that we have to engage in and practice and get better at it.
Yes, absolutely. And it's such a big need in the field because, while we all seek to improve our own instructional practice, a lot of what we do as we serve and support multilingual students is like just building capacity amongst like our teammates and our colleagues. And, sometimes folks will say to me, and I'm sure they say to you too, like, I'm here for the kids. Like I took all these courses to teach kids and to design lessons and like make these powerful units of instruction, but I didn't really have a whole lot of courses or preparation that leads me into like powerful collaboration practices. Like that part was kind of missing.
Yes, indeed. It's missing a lot, but it's also entering our field of education. I'm hearing more and more about professors coming together and co-teaching courses to model this for their teacher candidates at the undergraduate level, at the pre-service level, in-service teacher education courses at the graduate level, even at the doctoral level, are sometimes collaboratively taught. Then I'm also thinking about those core classes for the freshmen in a college or university. Like my own son participated in one of those 4-credit courses, and it was co-taught by 2 professors coming from different fields. So it wasn't always for the sake of multilingual learners or students with disabilities or exceptional needs, but just simply the notion of how we combine our expertise and we're going to do better for our students, regardless of the context. I know our context today is, of course, multilingual learners, but this notion of teacher collaboration and then preparing future teachers to collaborate better might be taking off a little bit. It would be good to hear who is engaged in that.
Yes. That's really exciting to hear at the college and postgraduate level that this is a thing now. I love this so much. So I'm thinking about like myself when I was a student. I don't ever remember having two adults in a space, like unless somebody was just popping in to drop off something. Like I don't ever remember that from my, context. But now, like, I have two kids and they're in middle school and high school. And a few years ago, I had my daughter come home from school, like one of the first few days of school, and she said to me, like she's, telling me about her day and telling me about her teachers. And she goes, "Oh, and for this class, I have two teachers." And my heart was like, "Oh, wait a second." And I was like, "Oh, tell me more." And she goes, "Well, they're both going to be our ELA teacher." And I was like, "Yes, like that was a perfect, like, it wasn't like she didn't perceive it as, well, this teacher's here because she's my ELA teacher, and this teacher's here because she's the helper, or she's here to
Mm.
support these." No, like, I have two teachers for this class. I was like, this is beautiful.
And you just said the magic word that we want to see two teachers who are perceived by students as equals, that not one real teacher and one helper or an assistant, or maybe that other teacher is there for those other kids. And then we start othering each other and othering our students. So it's beautiful when students perceive the intended reality of this practice, which is to have two adults, two highly qualified professionals in the classroom to support all students, or all students' language and literacy development, or all students' unique learning needs, if it's in the case of exceptional education or special education. Yeah. I had something similar with actually with pretty much all of my kids, but one that really stood out is the ninth grade humanities course, where a social studies and an ELA teacher teamed up. And to me, it was a dream to think about how you're learning about social studies or social science along learning about literature, what kind of products of the great minds came up with at the same time that certain historic events took place. We thought, oh my gosh, what a beautiful cohesion there is. And that's the core practice of collaboration, is that we're adding more cohesion, more continuity, more consistency. I love all my C words for collaboration, which is consistency, collaboration, of course, and continuity for the students.
That continuity piece is all of it, all the C's, right? All of the C's are so important. Gosh, there's so many things I want to ask you about. What are some of the things that you see as some of the biggest challenges that teachers face, or even leaders face, when we say, okay, we want to start moving into like a co-teaching model, or maybe not fully co-teaching, but a collaborative model? What are some of the biggest challenges that you have seen?
Well, the number one biggest elephant in the room is time. Time is the concern that we all have. As Brene Brown says, we have this scarcity of so many things, including scarcity of time. So creating the comprehensive schedule, which used to be called the master schedule for an entire school building, is challenging enough already. But then when we want to create that kind of schedule with collaboration in mind, then sustained collaboration time must be put on that master schedule, comprehensive schedule first. If it's not, then it becomes an afterthought, or it becomes a big, gigantic Band-Aid that we're using, which is floating substitute teachers, guests. I know that's a very disturbing label that we're throwing around, but the guest teacher, the substitute teacher, who is a permanent sub in a building and pretty much covers whichever class needs to be covered. So teachers, co-teachers, collaborating teachers could be released. But time is also of essence when we think about how this cannot be rolled out overnight. We have to perhaps start small, start with one grade level, one content area, maybe even just one team, and build capacity around collaboration, not assuming that teachers will know how to coordinate schedules, how to collaborate around curriculum mapping and aligning content-based expectations and language-based expectations. So I often encourage administrators and, of course, teachers to advocate for more permanence, more sustained collaboration by creating and then keeping those collaborating teams together over multiple years. Yeah, there are changes anyway, right? Like people leave, people retire, people have babies, and all of a sudden a team has to be reconfigured anyway. So
Yes.
now we should just keep those high functioning teams together and keep building capacity for teams to work better.
Yes, I love that because those are like super practical tips, right? Like starting small, starting with like maybe one partnership and trying it out and really supporting that partnership by a few things we already said, like building in the time, making that time a priority, that protected planning time and that protected co-instructional time. Like it is really important. And that has to be done at the systems level rather than saying, all right, teachers, y'all are going to co-teach, you figure it out. Like it can't be on that whim. Everyone's plates are so full. It has to be built into the schedule. So I appreciate so much that you said that. And the starting small, right? Like one partnership, two partnerships, one content area of focus. Start small, and then we build upwards from there. And I also appreciate the fact that you mentioned like that sustainability of the relationship, because as teachers, we pour so much of our heart and our time and our energy and our love and our passion into what we do, like with kids certainly, but also if we've got a co-teacher that's like that becomes our buddy, right? Like we nurture that relationship and we find like that groove and that rhythm many times. And then at the end of the year, when stuff starts to like, we're start talking about the changes for next year, if we find out that all of that work is now like we have to start over, we have to start from scratch, it feels a little like it hurts our feelings, right? Because it is so personal. And if we had that sustainability for beyond 1 year of doing this work together, just imagine the possibilities, like how much stronger our instruction will be and how much deeper we can go with co-assessment and like just all of it, right? Like that multi-year relationship. Oh, that is like hashtag goals, they would say, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Oh, goodness. Oh, so my dog, Andrea, I have my doggies and they're both here with us tonight. So my Shih Tzu is very excited that we are talking about co-teaching today. One thing that you mentioned the scarcity of time.
Yeah.
And in your book, with co-planning that you co-wrote with Maria G. Dove, I really appreciated this book because it helps us think about ways to maximize that precious co-planning time. Can you want to tell us a little bit about any of the co-planning pieces that you would encourage partnerships to like explore? I'm going to grab my dog here.
Yeah, sure, sure. So I think, as the title of that book suggests, we talk about 5 essential practices. And to make it even more accessible, those 5 practices can be lumped around 3 questions. And that's the who, the what, and the how.
Yeah.
So, who, when we collaborate in support of multilingual learners, we certainly need to understand who our students are. You're going to co-plan or plan solo very differently for newcomers, for students who are often labeled as long-term multilingual learners, long-term ALS, or as experienced multilingual learners who are unable to reach that level of proficiency. Then we have the students who are bridging, who are maybe even already tested out, but we know that their language development continues. So we need to have data or evidence of student learning so that we can plan better. The second question is the what. We plan around the curriculum. So we map out what the core expectations are. We can forward map, we could backward map, we could definitely create that alignment between, as I mentioned earlier, that content-based and language-based expectations. And finally, the last question is the how. But in this book that you held up, we have 3 chapters dedicated to the how, and how, because that's what most teachers are asking us, like, how are we going to do this? So one of those answers to the how questions could be creating structures and routines. Because when you co-plan, you can't start from square one each time. You have to have some kind of predictable structure, whether it's a weekly routine or an entire unit that will be mapped out in a certain way. You might have a particular routine or structure for each class period. For example, at the secondary level, we often have a bell ringer or some sort of a warm up to start the lesson. We have an exit ticket at the end. So there are very, very easy, predictable structures that could be planned out. The next how is how we're going to do our bread and butter, which is content and language integration. That's going to set us apart from other types of collaboration or co-planning. And then the final how chapter that we have in that book and topic that we're exploring is how are we going to make sure that all students have access to the core curriculum? How are they going to be participating? So the answer to that is through scaffolding, through providing those access points, and that multimodal, multilingual, multisensory, multidimensional approach to teaching this population is what we're promoting. So those were those five. You held it up very quickly, but it was the 5 essential practices that we're recommending. But we had a lot to say about it. I think almost 300 pages. So I just summarized it in about 3 minutes because it is a complex process. We can't just assume, come on, stick together and then co-planning will take off. The more we embrace some kind of structure or routine, the easier it is going to turn it into a regular practice.
Yes, yes. And it's like it's one of those things too, right? Like many times it's assumed that like we know how to co-plan, but it's like when did we learn this? Like some of us never learned how to, like I know how to plan by myself, but it should look and feel and sound different when I'm sitting down with a colleague, right? And Andrea, you and I go back a number of years now. So back when I was in a school district, you came and we worked together. And I remember like coming back to you and saying like, well, now I'm struggling with this. And there were so many like nuggets that you shared with me that I have like taken and like I continue to bring forward. And I'm like, I remember what she told me. I remember.
Oh.
But one of the things that you said to me when like earlier in my journey of looking at collaborative practices and kind of feeling like, okay, well, I was partnered with this teacher and, we're now linked together and we're going to try to do this and we're going to dabble. And sometimes we're going to get it wrong and that's okay. And we're going to try something else and we'll revise and we'll refine and all the things. But then at certain points during the year, we start to get pressure, right? We start to feel like, our pacing guides, like, oh my goodness, are we on pace with where we need to be? And, is this class period 2 class sessions behind this other class period? And what is that going to do? And so all of these pressures, I think, start to add up. And then teachers' lives get busy, right? Like our to-do lists get busy. And so it becomes a very slippery slope during those seasons of survival in a school year when we start to feel maxed out for one or both of the teachers to say, let's go ahead and skip our co-planning session. And like, because we both have so many things we need to do. But if we allow it that one time, like it kind of opens the door for moments of like, well, let's just like, yeah, this week is also not so good. We'll pick back up again after this. So I remember one of the things you said to me was, could you find other pockets of time so that you continue to protect and really hold sacred that co-planning time? Because not only does it drive like the instruction, but it also honors the commitment to the partnership, right? And like I honor and value so much what you as my colleague bring to the table that I really want to protect that because I want us to be able to learn from each other and I want us to be able to both, infuse our expertise into, the things that we do with students. So that one was always something that stuck with me for sure.
Yes, I think in our busy lives, it's easy to try to take something off your plate because there's so much on your plate.
Yeah.
But what I've learned over the years is that we can reconceptualize collaboration to be the plate rather than one more thing on the plate. So if the practice of collaboration will become the plate, it will hold everything else up. And I don't want to mix my metaphors, but also think about how it's all about the students. So it's not about you, it's not about me. It's about how we're going to triangulate this relationship and focus our attention on the students. And in that case, we can't really skip the collaboration and the co-planning because we want to advance our students' academic, social, emotional, and language and literacy growth.
Absolutely. So we have to honor and protect that time, right? Because it's about the students and about bringing all the expertise together for the betterment of the students that we serve and keeping them front and center. So, so critical. One other thing that you said to me during one of my, I'm sure I was crying at some point to you, of like, oh my goodness, is our class period behind because, our pacing is a little bit different. And I remember you said, you know what, Carl, it's a co-taught class, right? Like it's a co-taught class. It should look and sound and feel different. And I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, like it's like one of those things that like, oh my gosh, you're right. Like, absolutely. It should look and feel and sound different. And having you say that to me, I'm like, that was like the little key that I needed to like just twist into I was like, that makes complete sense to me. And it helped me and my colleague like kind of free up our brains a little bit to say, hey, if we're doing right by our students, right? Like, and we're doing all of this and they're being successful. Why would we change that? Why would we have a different class period or our own pressures like dictate what we do? If this is working, let's keep going.
Yes, I think that's a breakthrough moment that you just described, because once we start seeing that collaboration is a fluid, co-generative process, it's not something that could ever be scripted. I could not give you the script for collaboration because it is so organic most of the times. It becomes a fluid process. Even though earlier I was talking about structures and routines,
Yes.
those would create guardrail,
Yes.
guardrails and structures and frameworks. But ultimately, we're always going to be bringing our full creativity and autonomy into these situations. And another really, really important part about this work is that if you co-teach a class and it looks exactly the same as a solo taught class, then something is missing, because two adults in the room would add so much more instructional intensity, so many opportunities to divide and conquer, use small group instructional approaches, multiple groups, station rotations, learning centers, Kagan structures. The opportunities are endless. How two teachers, or you can co-teach with an instructional aide, with a paraprofessional. You could even co-teach with a student. You can co-teach with volunteers, with your librarian, with your specialists, special teachers. There's just so many opportunities for us to bring two sets of expertise into the classroom. So it really should not look the same as a solo taught class.
Yes, yes, yes. And so for anyone watching, if that's what you needed to hear for your heart today, let's let that be a message that you take with you from this session tonight, because that was something that really stuck with me. And so now when I work in different places and spaces, like I'm like, it's like Dr. Andrea Honigsfeld once said. But I quote your work all the time. One other piece that I do want to reference, because I have the stack of your books here. You and Audrey Cohen also co-wrote this incredible book. And this was a really neat one because I haven't seen another book like it anywhere ever. And so it's Collaboration for Multilingual Learners with Exceptionalities. Can you tell us like a 1 or 2 minute synopsis of this work?
Well, the title was supposed to be "We Share the Students," but it had to be the subtitle as we got that editorial advice. It is about breaking down silos between special education departments, ML, ELD, ELL departments, and gen ed teachers. Because if we have a student who either has a unique learning need or a suspected or identified learning disability, ends up with an IEP or 504, and also let's remember the students who just have learning differences, learning difficulties, or gifted and talented multilingual learners who are so frequently overlooked because of perceived language barrier. So there's just so many students who are multilingual learners with exceptionalities, as the title suggests. And then because there are so many unique learning trajectories and individual learning identities in our classrooms, not one teacher could ever hold all the knowledge or know and have all the answers and know all the time what the best approach could be for those students. So we have to collaborate. And now we're expanding that collaboration to include our colleagues from the special education or gifted and talented programs too. So that's the synopsis of the book. And yes, you notice that I was not collaborating with Maria Dove, with
Yes.
whom I frequently co-author, because I needed a special education expert, and that's Dr. Audrey Cohen, who is actually also dually certified because she's also an ML specialist. So it was really wonderful for us to bring our expertise together and practice what we preach,
Yes.
represent different areas, but then combine and generate something new. And thank you for noticing that a book like that has not been published yet, because we are very excited about that book too.
Yes, it really is. And I love that you say like the breaking down of silos is so needed. And I think that's something that's so relatable to many folks who are watching, like because of the way that our schools are structured. If we do any type of strategic clustering of students, many times that leads to like, well, this is the ML team and this is the special ed team and never the two shall meet. Or this is the ML team, this is the gifted and talented team, like, and never the two shall meet. Because again, time is an issue. We don't have time. Many times we don't have collaboration structures that help us move beyond our grade level or our content level, like departments, our content area departments. So stretching beyond really is a need. And so that's something I really, really did appreciate about this work, because I haven't seen anything like it. And when you said about Audrey Cohen be like having that dual certification locally in Illinois, we always say if you've got the multilingual certification and the we call LBS1 certification, you are a unicorn. Like if you have both of those, wow. Or if you have the multilingual and the gifted, you're a unicorn.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree. So we just need to collaborate with each other so we could combine our expertise if you don't have too many unicorns in your backyard.
Exactly, exactly. So I love this. Andrea, thank you so much for always being willing to collaborate. You are such a powerful voice in the field, not only because you have so much brilliance and you have so much expertise, but you are also always like supporting other human beings. And I see the way that you talk with people, and like I've always come to you for support, and you always uplift those around you. So thank you for being a person in our field that always uplifts other people. I truly cannot thank you enough for being such a good model to all of us for how we can do that work, especially as we talk about collaboration, but really just like being the kindest and most encouraging human being. Thank you for all that you do for the field. And thank you for being that for me.
Thank you. And the admiration is mutual, because you are that uplifter for so many people, and you are an amazing collaborator too.
Well, thank you so much. Friends, thank you all so much for hanging out with us tonight. If you are not live with us tonight and you catch the replay, feel free to add in some comments and questions and all of the love, and make sure you're hearting all the things. But we appreciate you being a part of our collaboration virtually tonight and always on Wind Down Wednesday. Thank you all so much for watching.
Bye.